Hello. Lag Baomer is the big day of Rav Shimon bar Yochai. Rav Shimon bar Yochai left us many important statements, but one of them stands out, and that is the one that is brought in the Gemara Sukkah Memhei. Amar Virmia, Amar Rav Shimon ben Yochai, יכול אני לפתור את כל העולם כולו מן הדין. Rav Shimon bar Yochai says that I can exempt the entire world from being judged in the heavenly court after a person passes away. How would you do that? Well, there's few explanations in the poskim. For example, the Marsham and other brings the same idea. Marsham in the beginning, Chelek Aleph, Kach Bet, in the Hakdama, brings an interesting Gemara in Sanhedrin Tzadik Aleph. Over there were two people that were having give and take. That was Antoninus, the Roman emperor, and Rabbi, that were good friends, and they learned and studied together. The emperor Antoninus asked Rabbi that how is it possible that after a person passes away, the judge him in Shamayim, in heaven court? Isn't it that there's a claim that it could be exempt with? What is it? Says Antoninus, the neshama can come to Shamayim and say that I'm not sinning at all, because look at me, once I separated from the body, I'm not sinning. And the body says to the heavenly court, once I separated from the neshama, I can't move, I can't sin. So they both have a claim, and therefore they should be exempt. That was the question. Let's see it inside. Says the Gemara, אמר לאנטונינוס לרבי, Antoninus said to Rabbi, גוף ונשמה יכולים לפתור עצמם מן הדין. The body and the soul can both exempt themselves from the judgment. כיצד? גוף אומר נשמה חטאת. The goof blames the soul. The body blames the soul. Why? It says, שמיום שפרשה ממני, הריני מוטל כאבן דומם בקבר. Since we separated, I'm in the grave, I can't move, I can't sin. So who sinned? The soul. Neshama אומרת, Neshama says, גוף חטא, the body sinned, not me. How do we see? שמיום שפירשתי ממנו, הריני פורחת באוויר כציפור. Since we separated, I'm in heaven, I'm flying all over, but I'm not sinning, I can't sin. The body sins, not me, not the Neshama. Good claim. How would they get out of it? How would in Shamayim they would be able to punish them? So Rabbi answered him the following thing. Interesting parable. אמר לו, משול לך משל למה הדבר דומה. I'll give you a parable. למלך בשר ודם שהיה לו פרדס נאה. There was a king that had an orchard, a nice orchard. והיו לו בקורות נאות. He had over there figs. והושיב בו שני שומרים. He put over there two guards, two watchmen, to make sure that if birds come in, they would kick them out. Anybody would come in, they kick them out. But those two orchards, he made sure that we're not able to be able to walk to those figs and eat from them. What did he do? He put שני שומרים, אחד חיגר ואחד צומא, one that didn't have any feet and one that was blind. אמר לו חיגר לצומא, the חיגר said to the blind person, בקורות נאות אני רואה, look, I see beautiful figs and I have the desire to eat them. How would we get there? I can't walk to the fig tree, and you can't see where it is. So I have an idea. You put me on your shoulder, and I'll tell you where to go, and we can have a party over those figs over there. And that's what they did. That's it. Then, לימים, בא פרדס, the owner of the orchard, comes to the place, and he sees all his beautiful figs are gone. Where are they? אמר להם בקורות נאות אחד הן. Where are they? אמר לו חיגר. The one without the feet said to him, without the legs said to him, what do you want from me? I can't walk. I can't get there. You can't blame me. I didn't do anything. I'm not guilty. כלום, יש לי רגליים להלך בהם? אמר לו סומה. He went to the blind person. He said, I also can't get anywhere. I can't see anything. כלום, יש לי עיניים לראות מה? לראות? I can't see anything. What did he do? He understood already. What was the trick that they planned that together? מעשה הרכיב חיגר על גבי סומה, דן אותם כאחד. He put one on top of the other, on the shoulder of the other, and now he judged them together. both together you could charge, you could blame. It was a conspiracy that you can put together, and therefore you can charge both of them as one. אף הקדוש ברוך הוא מביא נשמה וזורקה בגוף, ודן אותם כאחד. הקדוש ברוך הוא does the same thing. When the time to judge comes, הקדוש ברוך הוא puts the body, the soul inside the body, and he judges them together as a conspiracy. Therefore, they are being judged, and that's the way they would be punished if they sinned. But there's an interesting Gemara. The Gemara in Shabbat, Tzadik Bet brings, it's a Mishnah, brings a Machloket Chachamim and Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai. What happens if a person sins on Shabbat? Of course, if one person sins on Shabbat, he violates Shabbat, he will get punished. Shabbat is a very severe thing. But what is it if a person did an Avera, a sin, a Chilul Shabbat, together with somebody else? Together, like for instance, you're not allowed to carry, that's the examples in the Mishnah, you're not allowed to carry something outside to the public domain, Rashut HaRabim. What happens if a person didn't take out the item by himself, but rather he held one side of the item, and another person held on the other side of the item, and they went out like this to the public domain, to Rashut HaRabim? Would it be obligated or not? Well, normally, Shnaim She'asu Pturim, they wouldn't be obligated. Midoraita, of course, Chachamim restricted, you're not allowed to do that. But, Midoraita, such a thing is not a violation of Shabbat. But, the Mishnah says, what would be a case if you have a person that can't do the thing by himself? It's too heavy. Let's say it's a heavy table, and you want to carry it outside. So you have to have somebody else helping you. Both together can carry it outside. Each by himself can't carry the table outside. It's too heavy. Over here, Chachamim say that such a thing would be obligated. If a person can't carry it by himself, midoraita would be a violation and would be considered a chilul Shabbat. That is the opinion of Chachamim. When did the Torah say that Shnaim She'asu Pturim, two people that made a melachat together, made a violation together, they exempt? They didn't violate the biblical prohibition, only a rabbinical. When is it? Only if it's something that could be done by yourself, and you did it with your friend. But if you couldn't do it by yourself, you had to have your friend support and help, and you did it together, then Chachamim say that you are obligated indeed. But Rav Shimon bar Yochai in the Mishnah argues. He says no, he's exempt regardless. No matter if you could carry it by yourself or you can't carry it by yourself, if you did it together with somebody else, you patur. And that is the way they tie it, the Poskim, the Marsham and others, to our Gemara. Said Rav Shimon bar Yochai, יכול אני לפתור את כל העולם kulo miladin. I can exempt the entire world from being judged. How is that? By this very claim. The neshama and the guf, the body and the soul, come to the heavenly court, come to Shamayim and say, what do you want from us? We didn't sin, it's the other one that sinned. The neshama says the body sinned, the body says the neshama sinned. What do we do in such an instance? Says the Gemara, you put them together. That is good if you hold that if one can't do the sin by himself, and therefore you need the support of the other, you're obligated. That's the opinion of Chachamim. But the opinion of Shimon bar Yochai is not like that. He holds the exempt regardless. Regardless, you are patur. Very interesting Gemara. Some big rabbi, when I said this derasha on Shabbat, asked me a question, and he said, but 1 minute, Halacha is not like Rav Shimon bar Yochai. Halacha is like Chachamim, and therefore, that's the reason we are indeed obligated, and Rav Shimon bar Yochai could have been poter, but indeed, he's la'alacha, it's not like him. If halacha would be nifsak like him, it did so, but halacha is not like him. But that is true. Halacha is Shnaim She'asu Chayavim. If two people did it together, they couldn't do by himself, Ze no yachol v'ze no yachol, they couldn't do each one by himself, they did it together, they are chayav. And therefore the neshama and the guf don't have such a claim. But over here there's a chiddush, and that is what's brought down in the Sfarim. What's brought down in the Sfarim is that when do we be posek like those opinions that we found in the halacha, that is only in this world. Like for example, there's machloket Bet Hillel u'Beit Shammai. Throughout Shas, we found the machloket Bet Hillel u'Beit Shammai. Halacha is constantly like Bet Hillel. Yatzar even Bat Kol amra halacha ki Bet Hillel, which means Bet Hillel carries the halacha. But the Arizal says that that is true in this world. In the next world, Olam Haba, when Mashiach will come, in the next world, halacha would be like Bet Shammai. Why is that? Because Bet Shammai are more precise, they're more correct. But we don't go like Bet Shammai because they weren't the majority. And in halacha, you follow majority opinions. And Bet Hillel were the majority opinions, and that's the reason halacha is like Bet Hillel achrei rabim la'atot. That's what the Torah says. You don't go after who's right, you go after the majority of opinions in halacha. Same thing over here. But when we deal in the next world, says the Arizal, we go not according to the majority, we're going according to the more precise, more truthful opinion, and that is Bet Shammai. Says in a Sefer, Avkat Rochel Ochayon, that it's not only the next world to come, but also in Shamayim. That's the way they judge. There's a heavenly court as well that judges not according to the majority, but according to the truth, according to Bet Shammai. And he adds not only Bet Shammai, but also Shimon bar Yochai, because he was more precise in whatever he said than the other opinions. So whenever we don't paskin like Rav Shimon, that's because Chachamim were the majority. But indeed, Rav Shimon was more correct. And since he was more correct la'alacha, in the heavenly court, even right now, they judge like Rav Shimon. They posek, they paskin halacha like Rav Shimon bar Yochai. That's what he brings down in Avkat Ochel. And if so, when we're dealing with a regular halacha of what to do over here in this world, indeed, we posek like whatever it was written in the Shulchan Aruch, and therefore, Shnaim she'asu chayavim, two people that did together and they couldn't do by themselves, each one by himself, they be obligated. But when we're dealing in Shamayim, when this halacha is in respect to the heaven judgment, then we posek like Rav Shimon bar Yochai. Rav Shimon bar Yochai say it's patur regardless. Very interesting, just to put a note that it doesn't mean that a person can sin and he doesn't get punished. It's just an aspect that there is such a claim in Shamayim that Rav Shimon bar Yochai would be able to help people out with this idea. But not that a person could say, I could sin without any problem. Of course not. Rav Shimon would not help out a person that feels that he sins because of his desires. Rather, when a person stumbles and he really didn't mean to, or he tried his best, so then Rav Shimon might come and help him out with this claim. And with that, we want to explain an interesting question that many of the poskim ask, and that is, we also celebrate on Lag Baomer another thing, not only the passing of Rav Shimon bar Yochai and revealing us the secrets of the Torah that by itself is awarded and deserving of a big celebration that we do on Lag Baomer, but also on Lag Baomer something else happened, and that is that the passing of the students of Rabbi Akiva, 24,000 students that passed away, and the time of the Omer stopped at Lag Baomer. So some of the poskim asked the following simple question: why is this a celebration? That would be a celebration maybe, we would be happy if there would be more students and they were saved. But over here, all the students, 24,000 died. He had left none of his students. So they just finished dying. It's not like something about that day. They just finished dying in that day. There was no more of the 24,000 sages, Talmidei Chachamim, great Talmidei Chachamim, that were left to keep on dying. They all died. That's not a reason to be happy. It's different from Metei Midbar, that we're saying that in the desert they died every year on Tisha B'Av, and 1 year they stopped dying. So on Tu B'Av, on the 15th B'Av, we are happy. Why is it so happy? Because on that day, says the Gemara in the end of Ta'anit, they stopped dying. But there were more people, much more people, so they stopped dying. So that's a reason for celebration, that they were saved. But over here, nobody was saved. Why is this happy? Why anybody should be happy on that day? And could be the answer follows what we said before. Of course, we're not happy that they died, but we're happy for a certain aspect over here, and that is that indeed all the students died, and new students started coming. And one of them, there were 7 students. Some sources say 5 students, but Rabbi Akiva had main 5 students. One of them was Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, that he was nismach. He's got his semicha from Rabbi Akiva on that day when people passed. And therefore, something happened over here, and that is the psak of Chachamim that was to charge people in Shamayim because of Shnaim She'asu Chayavim. Over here, it changes course to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Now, everybody passed away together with their psak, and a new psak came to light, and that was Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai psak. What is it? Shnaim She'asu Pturim, they exempt. I'll be able to exempt the entire world. Yachol ani liftor et kol ha'olam min adin. Very interesting idea that we can actually take home and feel the celebration on this Lag Baomer and every Lag Baomer, and connect with Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, that in the end of the day, Kidai Rabbi Shimon lismoch alav b'shat adchak. Although we said before that one should not think at all, chas v'shalom, that he can sin and he'll be exempt. Nobody says that. But what we do say, there's such an aspect that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai could help. And more than that, we have such an idea in the Gemara, for instance, in Shabbat, Rabbi Eliezer de Milah, that we pasken halacha, normally we follow the Shulchan Aruch. But if you have a certain rabbi in a certain city, he's the Mara Deatra, and over there they do differently, as we found that in Rabbi Shimon, in Rabbi Eliezer, over there, Rabbi Eliezer de Milah, he pasken certain psak in Ilchot Milah that was different from everybody else. And in Shamayim, from heaven, they agreed with him. Other places that normally the machmir throughout the world with eating chicken and milk, there was a certain town that the rabbi over there paskened that fish, that chicken and milk would be permitted. Although la halacha we pasken not like that. But in his town, since he paskened like that, in Shamayim they agreed with that psak for the people of his town. And because of that, great things have occurred in those places. And we can use the same logic to us. If a person makes Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai his Rebbe, he celebrates together with Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. He connects and he follows the psakim of what's according to the halacha, according to what is permitted to be nifsak, because there is a psakim of the Zohar. Whenever the Zohar, as I explained in the different shul that I have, come and has a machloket with the poskim pashtanim, many times you follow the Zohar. And therefore, we have a whole shiur on this, explaining when to follow the Zohar, when not to follow the Zohar. But if a person follows that, maybe Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, with his chuyot, could help us out as well, with that aspect that if a person does stumble, he has someone to go to, Be'ezrat Hashem. Lag Baomer Sameach.